Welcome to Aspiring Hollywood. I'm Luciano Saber, and my guest today is Pasha Bocarie. His first major breakthrough as an actor arrived when he was cast as Ammar in Just a Kiss, directed by Ken Loach. The film won Best European Union Film at the Berlin International Film Festival and paved the way for guest star roles in BBC series such as Casualty and, most importantly, MI5 that plays right here in the United States. Pasha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So tell me about yourself. What are you working on currently?
Well, currently I've got 3 films out, 2 which were released in Europe, and international features, foreign language features. One was released in UK, the other was released in Germany. In America I had a film which was produced by the American Film Institute, which premiered at the Directors Guild of America. On top of that, I have a national commercial airing and a 4th feature which is due for release this year as well.
Tell me about MI5.
Well, I think people in the States will be familiar with that show because it does show here, and it's a great show like 24, you know, espionage role, and some very well-renowned British actors I got to work with. I got to work with Simon Abkarian, who was in Casino Royale. He had a big role, and Rupert Henry Jones. We shared scenes together, so that was a great experience, you know, to have the 5-star treatment, the limos, the trailers. It was a lot of fun.
Right. And what kind of roles do you normally get cast for?
Well, that's a good question, because I do get cast in tough guy roles. I played the cops, I played the mobsters, and the spies. But you know, recently I branched out into foreign language films because to get the better roles. So I've had to learn foreign languages like Hindi and German and Pashto in order to just be seen in leading roles. So those roles was very challenging for me as an actor, and they are what would someone call leading character actor. Those are the kind of roles that I would go for. So
you're formally trained, from what I read in your biography, and that's very important to know because we get people from all walks of life here sitting in the chair on Aspiring Hollywood, and some of them are formally trained and some are not. But it's very important for the audience members at home to understand that you don't necessarily, there isn't one way of making it, right, in the business. There's so many different ways of getting to where you are today, right, where you can say that you enjoy some sort of success, right?
Yes, there is. But I think, you know, I think every actor should spend that time learning his craft, and there are a couple of ways to do it. Either you work with great teachers, but your formal training can only take you so far. I think being in the theatre is a great way to learn your chops. You know, and having good life experiences is another way to really develop yourself as an actor, because being an actor is about telling the truth at the end of the day and being interesting, and you can't be truthful and interesting if you haven't lived life and experienced life. So I think people get hung up on the whole, you know, what do I have to do to be an actor? But live life, experience life, try things, do things, you know, play sports and try different professions, because that's what you're going to draw on as an actor once you learn your craft. And I think that, yeah, so there are different ways of doing it, but I would say that there's a right way of doing it as well, you know.
Tell me about your training in London. Where did you study?
Well, I studied at a couple of different places. I studied at the City Lit, Westminster College, Arts Ed and Actors Centre, and I did a lot of fringe theatre, which is unpaid theatre work. I did short films, working with student films, and then I branched out into feature films and theatre. Theatre is where I really, I think, learnt the discipline of being an actor. To do 8 shows a week, you know, give a consistent performance, it really teaches you a lot about the craft and gives you a discipline, which I think is you can call upon when you get on set. And if it's an all-night shoot and you've got to be there at 3 and you've got to do take after take, you have that discipline. You can draw back on your, you know, your training. So I think theatre was a big learning curve for me.
Right. So the central question of Aspiring Hollywood is, What was your defining moment? And the reason we're asking that question is because everybody wants to know, well, what do I have to do to become a superstar, right? I mean, that's really the goal, you know, people wanting to work. So the defining moment of your career, can you think back to when you got started and to tell us what that was?
You know, I got started by, I was a musician before, and I got started by kind of default. George Lucas was filming his prequels, The Phantom Menace, and I wanted to be part of that. So I got on set and I was cast as a pilot, and that's kind of when I got the acting bug. But it's difficult to say what was my defining moment. I think working with Ken Loach was a really big step for me, but having recently had my feature film where I was the second lead released and have a world premiere of that, that was a huge deal for me.
Talk about that film a little bit. What's that film about?
That film was actually a remake of a very famous Dutch film, classic film, Danish film, sorry, called Pasha, which was released in Europe in the 90s, and we remade it in Hindi. So it's a first of its kind, and we shot it in London. So I actually was following in the footsteps of Mads Magnussen, who was in Casino Royale. He's a very well-known European actor. So it was a lot of pressure on me to play that role and to make it my own. And it was shot in Hindi, never been done before, with some Bollywood stars, and we did it in London. Handheld camera, very gritty, very real. I had my head shaved, tattoos drawn, you know, I had to learn another language. It was a real big challenge for me as an actor.
And is that released?
That was released in 2010 at the end of the year. Recently released on DVD in Europe, and I believe it's going to India as well to be premiered over there.
Oh, wow. And is there a website or something like that? Yeah.
It's called, check out the trailer, it's called pushamovie.com. There's an awesome trailer on there. It is a gangster film, but it's not, it has a good message at the end of the day. It's not promoting any culture or violence, or in fact it's kind of showing the pitfalls of if you get involved in that kind of lifestyle. So it's, yeah, definitely recommend seeing that film.
What advice would you have for an aspiring filmmaker, let's say?
From my own personal experience, my friend who made this film, Pasha, he fought for 10 years to make this film. You know, he wrote it, he directed it, and he got it produced, and it was a love of labor. And what it showed to me was he had grit and determination. When a lot of people who had written off the project said it couldn't be made, you know, things happen, finances fall through, actors drop out. But you really have to, as a filmmaker, you have to have a lot of perseverance, and you have to be a bit of an all-rounder. You know, you have to understand the business side as well as the artistic side, and have a voice or a story that you want to tell. That's very important, I think. So it's not easy being a filmmaker, especially these days, an independent filmmaker.
Right. And now you've worked with several directors, and you got a feel for the set and how various directors operate. Mm-hmm. What would your advice be for somebody who is starting out directing their first feature film in terms of how to communicate with actors? Because, right? I mean, that's a very, very important thing. Right?
I was very lucky. The first big job I got was with Ken Loach, and that was an education for me, because sometimes you work with directors that are very dictatorial, and they tell you what to do and where to go and how to move. Whereas this man, there were a bunch of people in the room who have never acted before in their life, and by the 10th or 15th take, we had an amazing scene. And he didn't direct, he just kind of pushed you in certain directions. In other words, put thoughts in your head and created a safe environment for which people to explore or to play. And I think that's important for all directors. Even Asad Raja, who I worked with in Pasha, he did not have a very, you know, dictatorial attitude about him, and that creates a safe environment, and therefore the actor tries things. And I think that's, if you're a director, I think that approach is, you want to get the best out of people, make them feel relaxed.
Right. So now finally, a last question regarding the business. Actors get so disappointed because, look, we're creative creatures, right? So we're very emotional, and we get let down, we get very excited, and we're on a natural high, and then all of a sudden, if we don't get a part after the second or the third callback, then there's this drop. How do you deal with that?
I think, in other words, we're manic depressives, yes. How do you deal with that? So, you know, you have to take what's positive in your life and focus on that, and keep yourself fit and healthy, and surround yourself by a good group of people. Family is important, I think, and seeing the glass half full as opposed to half empty is the attitude really you need to take on board. I think it's a marathon, it's not a race, and you really have to show grit. I think with regards to dealing with the ups and downs, everyone's going to do it in their own way, and we all get that. Until you win that Oscar, you're always going to have those doubts.
And even after the Oscar sometimes.
Even after the Oscar, but no one can take that away from you then.
Exactly. Well, that was very insightful thoughts and inspirational messages that you had today for us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you for having me.
And stop by and let us know how your career's going, and where can people see you? You have an IMDb page, obviously?
Yes, I'm on IMDb. I have a fan page on Facebook, Pasha Bocarie. You can just look it up. It's very interesting because I update it with videos, trailers, and music videos, and write-ups, press, and all that kind of stuff. I will have a website out soon, and I think I keep a good presence on the internet with on various different sites. So for the moment, pashabocarie.com for the future.
We appreciate it, and thank you guys for watching. I'm Luciano Saber for Aspiring Hollywood. Please tune in again next week for another great interview such as the one we just had here with Pasha Bocarie. Check him out on IMDb and also on Facebook. Until next week, take care.